Evening, chaps, ladies, if there are any. I should assume there are some. Alright. So we've got a 1398 here. I have a horrible feeling this is going to be a dead CPU or something, but yeah, I guess we'll see. Just realised I flipped that panel up, that there is a custom sticker on that, so I'm going to have to just quickly remove it while it's on my lap instead. And in the meantime, you can all bask in the glory of my newly... Now, there it is. The new oven that I just finished videoing the modification of. I made one or two little mistakes. Personally, I blame the step drill bit for that sort of drama. But anyway, so that will now take up to about 6 820 1700 boards with room to spare. Okay. And all the junk that's piled up here is because I had to shift it from there. And that is hard doing things backwards like that. Hey John, yeah, it's getting late. Hey Fox. Alright, so what have we got? First thing I'll do is I'll just take the data disk drive out. No point risking things anything more than what we have to. So what is this? A 163, a 426, or what? I'm not quite sure. Unfortunately, my vision's not good enough to be able to. It used to be good enough to just see. But come on, say 3332. Say 333. Oh yes, it's 3332. All right. The year given on the board was on the job sheet was different, I think. Anyway, I'm glad it's a 3332. That puts it back in the realm of my happy land. Sorry, I'm just trying to find some cleaning cloths here. Alright, so with the 3332, the very first thing that we're going to assume is causing any kind of trouble is U8900, because that's just by default, thanks to the factory. Alexandra, thumbs down already, really. Looks like my professional fan club's already at it, so all good. All good. Tony, what I'll actually do is what I did with the original one, and I'll probably line the inside of it with balsa wood. And that should cut the amount of heat seeping through down to quite a small amount. But yeah, seriously, balsa wood. I put balsa wood on the top, the sides, the back, and it stops quite a bit of the heat getting out, and it doesn't burn the balsa wood. Very hard to burn balsa wood, in fact, at least from direct heat contact style situations. What is the qualification to become a laptop repair technician? Someone who can actually repair laptops. It's really pretty much that simple. There's no real qualifications required. Anyone can do it. As when I say anyone can do it, there's no you have to be certified to be able to do this, this or this. It's a case of, well, here's a dead laptop. Can you fix it? If you can fix it, then you're qualified. And at this rate, I may actually fail my qualification. Ah, there it is. It really is that simple. Okay, green light, fan spin. Interesting, so I'd say maybe U8900. A joke from Croatia. the drive's a bit dusty, but it doesn't look corroded. Well, it's late at night. I should be getting sleep, but I know that's going to be an impossible situation, so I'm just going to get a job done and then maybe I will sleep better. I have to go into Townsville tomorrow, and it's always difficult to sleep the night before. Yeah, John, I did see that Bert Newton passed away. It's running a little slower than I would expect, but that might be a battery issue. Oh yeah, it is, because I disconnected the battery. When you disconnect the battery, you create battery issues, funnily enough. Alright, so I'm going to assume that this is primarily a U8900 issue. So we'll fix that up, and then if we see anything else on the board. Also, the hinges are loose as hell on this. So see that sloppiness? I'm barely pushing that, and it can flex back and forth. So that means that the hinges in the screen need to be tightened up. We'll do that too. Just waiting for this to shut down. By the way, if anybody out there has the format specification of the TiboView TVW files, I would really like to get my hands on it. I've decoded a small portion of the files. I understand how the packaging, the parts packaging works, and I've got the pins, and I've got the list of networks. But there's a few things in there that are going to require some moments of pure brilliance to be able to deduce. And it'd be nice if I could just accidentally have the TBW format land in my inbox. What's complicated about it though is that the TiBo format is actually a consolidated group of files which covers all aspects of the design. So like, you know, you've got all your layers. It's a complete design file. It's not really only a board view file. So I don't really care about all the other aspects, you know, the individual layers and things like that. We just want the top, the bottom, and the networks, and that's pretty much it. On the outline, of course. And I've deduced most of it, and I'm pretty sure I should be able to do the outline as well. But the trouble I'm having at the moment is trying to tie together how they're indexing the networks to the network name. Because there's like 18, in this file I'm working on, there's like 1800 networks, and that's fine. I found them all, listed them all great. But when you go into the part specification, that's fine too. I can sort of see, okay, it wants that package, and it lists out the pins for the part, and in the data for the pins, I can see it's referencing the networks, but it's in a way that doesn't directly correlate with the list of networks I found. It's not a one-to-one mapping. So I'm suspecting there is some kind of mapping algorithm or something that they're doing, and it's driving me up the wall. My bench for all my administration work is covered currently with paper with all this pencil scribbles on it and printouts, and me trying to do math formulas and logic formulas, trying to deduce, you know, what masking they're using, if they're even doing masking. You know, it's very tedious work, and where it's problematic is the fact that, you know, very few people are using the TiboView format, but it is enough that it'd be nice to add it to my list of formats supported by Flex Board View and Open Board View. Now, where I'm getting frustrated is that there is another board view program called Board Viewer, the one, funnily enough, that accused me of stealing the ASUS FZ format off them, which I didn't. Anyway, they somehow have the TiVo View decoder in it, and I don't know how they've done it, so it must be available somewhere. But understandably, they're not going to tell me. That's kind of like a neat little trade secret they've got, and they're not going to give up that little bit of an advantage that they have. Hey B-Blood, Mario, GD, hey Nell. But yeah, it's irritating because, like I said, someone's worked it out, and they're not, I don't think they're using the library for the program TiVo View. So it just infuriates me that someone else has worked out something that I haven't. It drives me mad. And this is actually, funnily enough, where the repair industry really isn't like a, well, I guess it is like a family. We have a situation where, for the most part, it's probably not Apple themselves constraining access to data or Lenovo or whatever. It's really the people who manage to get a hold of those files. They themselves are now starting to constrict the distribution of them, whereas before they used to just like share them out quite a bit. Now there's too much profit in it because a lot of people are getting into the repair industry, so they're utilizing it as leverage to make more money. I mean, you got to respect that, but at the same time, when you're on the wrong side of that equation, it's really annoying. I mean, I'll pay them $500 if they give me that specification. I got no drama paying money for a specification. I just want the specification. Hey Solaris, what? Using a Surface Pro 4 I fixed today. I fixed it. Oh right, okay, you fixed the Surface Pro and you're watching this on it now. Excellent. Well done. Alright, we're going to have a look over, see if there's any other damage. So the lid switch area and audio seems a little bit nasty. Now we already know we're going to have to redo U8900, but we are looking out for other things that we need to do before we get to the U8900. U8900 is a given. We're just looking for things beyond the given. Battery and bad RAM. Does the Surface use soldered on RAM, or does it have separate RAM sticks still? Like SODIMMs or whatever. Oh, so that looks a little nasty down there. Yeah, that's not exactly the most healthy looking pin in the middle there. There, that needs some cleaning up. So that may not be causing issues right now, but it certainly will in the future. No, I think it's just the corrosion. It didn't really look like it had any rework on it. Sometimes there are little dots of flux that are left, and they can lead to that sort of appearance. Overall, the board certainly could do with a nice bath. The Wi-Fi looks pretty messy. At least being a 3332, it's not going to need VRM replacements. Whereas the 163, 426, 138, that sort of thing, they all need VRM replacements. Alright, well, U8900 is going to get reworked. That's this one here. This one actually doesn't look too bad. There's a little bit of issues on the right hand side here. The top, bottom, left seem okay, but the right does have a little bit of sort of dryness by the looks of it. What's the success rate of repairing MacBooks? Yeah, it's hard to say. Like, you get things like, say, the A1398, and that's around about the 20% success rate. It's not so good these days with the T2 Intel systems. I'm hoping it will improve with the M1. It's more a case of now we just have to wait and see. It's a little bit early for people like myself to be able to tell. There's probably people out there who've already done a couple of hundred of each, so yeah, they might be able to give you better information. Since this board's going in for a wash, there's no harm in me just going a little excessive on that flux. Morning, Greg. Great day for repairing some MacBooks. Have you updated your tools used with the new item purchased for the scope? I think you might be crossing lines there. The only thing I did with the scope is I added the circular polarizer to the Barlow. For the hot air station, however, I have for the moment switched over to the Atom, as in a replacement for the Quick. But I'd still recommend the Quick, it's just that I wasn't able to get a hold of one, so I got an Atom instead. Yeah, I see iFixit did... I made comments on their YouTube channel. What am I doing? I'm not reflowing this chip, I'm just heating up the whole board area. Because I'm going to be using a micro pencil, the board sucks up a little bit too much of the heat. And so you end up likely creating joints that are worse than what were there in the first place. Yeah, the new hot air station, it's good. Oh, I'm getting a flash memory. Why do I have this memory? Someone sent me a board. It's got to be a 138, and it had it's got to be a 3332. I mean, and it had a what do you call it? A shoe rubber on it. And I'm thinking, where the hell is that? I should have repaired that already. But yeah, I have no memory of repairing that. But I should have. It's a little concerning. I hope I didn't send something back without doing U8900 on it. What was your success rate for removing a Surface Pro screen? 0. Never done it. No, seriously, screens are just... Yeah, I know there's a bridge there. Well, I can't show you the Barlow because you're looking through the Barlow right now. The only other thing I did is change my drying oven. And that's behind me at the moment. And I've got a video of the process. It's a bit of a nightmare process. It should give a few electricians some aneurysms, so I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, it's the lens, so like the light under here is now going through a circular polarizer. Lewis Rossman did it with his as well, but yeah, he did it several months ago now. GD Tech, what's the temperature like where you are? Like, this is EM Tech obviously right now, 559. When you say it's gummy, that's... I can only imagine it's extremely cold where you are or something. I think it's not so much that it's sharper, it's just that the circular polarizer knocks out a lot of the glare with... which leads to the perception of sharpness, which in the end is what you want anyway, so yeah. Hey, recycling electronics, thanks. Yeah, I hope so too, but I think until we can get the wild cat, stray cat situation under control, I think sleep's going to be a scarce sort of entity. Hey, Keith McDermott. I mean, goodness knows I need sleep, that's for sure. You mean after you use about 400? Okay. Did you get... Is it genuine Amtech? Because that sounds more like it's Vaseline. The behavior describing doesn't really follow the behavior I'm seeing with Amtech. I mean, it gets quite firm after it's cooled back down. It does sort of solidify a bit. But I certainly wouldn't call it gummy. I guess it could be just a misinterpretation of terms between us. The polarizer is not in my list of things now, because it was just something I grabbed off eBay. It's a Hoya 48mm circular polarizer. It is not the most efficient polarizer, but then again, polarizers by nature are dreadful when it comes to light efficiency. So, where's the little container for it? But yeah, if you just look up Hoya, Hoya, 48mm circular polarizer. I got mine second hand for about $50, I think it was. Brand new, they're probably closer to 100. I can't find the container anywhere. Yeah. But yeah, 48mm is the key thing that you got to find. It's not the most common size for screw-on filters. Alright, well I think that's both aspects of that board done. Pretty happy with that. The main thing you got to do with the U8900 is double check that you haven't made any little shorts somewhere. Oops. There's no need for me to bring that down. Okay. Yeah, GD Tech, if you got it from AliExpress, I'd say you've actually got Vaseline. If you got Vaseline at home, try use Vaseline, see if you get the same result. I suspect you will. Michael, the microscope systems, they're all pretty much a muchness. There are some cheaper ones on the market now. But personally, I already found Amscope to be pretty, I wouldn't say alarmingly cheap, but it is quite cheap. When you consider what it would cost you for something like a Sanyo or Olympus, or let's say Olympus or Nikon, or if you're really, really rich, get say like a Carl Zeiss assembly. Yeah, that's when you know how much microscopes are really actually meant to cost. So paying 600 odd for the Amscope ones is pretty cheap going. Probably the bigger cost that I had was in the camera gear, the adapter that lets you connect the camera to the microscope and then also the camera itself. So I think that's about another, that's almost as much as the entire microscope system. But of course, if you're not doing videos or anything like that, or if you're not really that concerned about quality per se, you can either get one of the cheaper cameras, but at least you spend that money once and that's it. It's done. Yeah, gee, I would not be surprised if you've got Vaseline. I'm fairly sure Vaseline does have that tendency of going gummy when heated. Oh, that's right. We have to sort out the hinges on this thing. Now, there hasn't actually been sent in with that complaint, but I would much rather get that sorted out so that it doesn't go back to them and then they try to use it and something snaps inside and then I become the guilty party. So this is more about protecting myself than trying to do a freebie. I think the quality also of the capture comes down a lot to the capture card as well. So I've got the Sony camera and then certainly the capture card has helped quite a bit. Prior to the capture card it was like, yeah, there's probably a little bit more quality I can get out of everything, and that is if I get something like an i7 machine and then I can encode at a better rate, because right now I'm sort of very much at the edge of the limit of the what have I got, i5-8400. It can't really get much more performance out of it in terms of quality of the video. So yeah, I've got a little bit more quality that I can get out if I jump up to the i7, but that's about $1,200 for me to do that. I'm not really ready to spend that kind of money yet. I mean, I've got the money, but it's allocated to, as Lewis was saying, the mistake fund or the F up fund. The funds you have set aside for when you do things wrong, and you've got to do things like, well, I've got to buy you a new computer, or I've got to buy you a new laptop because a new phone because I ruined yours, or just other things. There's a lot of things the F up fund can fix. Yeah, that there is not my fault. That is just this. All this plastic has been exposed to something. You can see it up here too. It's just crumbling away. I have seen the Mantis scopes, but unfortunately they. What is going on? Okay, so we've got a crack here in the clutch cover. That's very annoying. You can see the hinges themselves are quite loose. Oh, something doing its best to hold me back from sliding this clutch cover off. Normally we can just pop these little end covers off when we do the slide, but I'm just going to get them out manually. There, you can see the rubber's missing off there too. There we go. Be careful with that clutch cover because you can see that crack there. It's a little bit awkward doing the screws on this, as long as you don't jam up the Wi-Fi. Okay, that one's good. That's vastly better. This one also is loose as my wallet when walking into the Bunnings store. Much better. Okay. So that's all that was required, and just I'm gonna admit these hinges are bloomin' tough though. A lot harder than they should be. Especially this one. Wow, you really are actually stupidly tough to move. Ouch. I'm not really sure what my options are here for loosening this up. I'll try a tiny dot of very fine oil. I kind of wonder if the degradation of the plastic here is actually because someone put a little bit more than just a teeny tiny dot. Hells no, that's just... It really probably needs to come off, and then Boss, you can download it without a key, no trouble. You just can't use it without the key. Hey, Steve K. Alright, that's loosening up finally. The only trouble is, when you use oil to loosen these things up, invariably it will ultimately become quite stuck again, because the oil will eventually just be driven away, and what you'll be left behind is all the crap that the oil attracted while it was there. So you do have to be careful in that respect. That's why if you have locks in your house that are sticking, in terms of like when you try to turn the tumbler or the key, you should really use graphite rather than oil, because oil just makes it worse for the next time. I probably will be taking away the ability to download Flexboard View without putting your key in first anyway. Mostly because there are people who are messaging me saying, why can't I use Flexboard View? What the hell's wrong with it? Blah blah blah. Because they're trying to use it without a license. Even though it says when you try to use it, it says when you first install it you need a license. But there's one thing that you know about people in general, is that reading comprehension is not really the human race's greatest strength. And there is a lot of people in this industry, or trying to get into this industry, who probably should not be getting into it. But I mean, that's the nature of gold rush industries. You will get people coming into it who probably are not best placed for it. But if there's the illusion of free money around, then you know they're going to turn up. It's just the way it goes. Free market. Yeah, they only want to read what they want to. Exactly. Hey Daniel, a 165 board, boot loop between 1 and 165 board is super clean. Does anything come up? Do you get 5 volts on USB? What else comes up? There's a few possible causes for that sort of stuff. 165s of course are a little bit notorious for just dying CPU wise or PCH wise. Do you get a proper fan spin on startup? Like, as in, does it go straight to fan spin, or does it pretend it's a 3437 a little bit? If it does pretend it's 3437, then basically you've got a dead machine there. Sorry to say. At least according to current knowledge and experience that we have. Because a lot of us are getting these 165s where they do a spin, then stop, and then spin again, and it's a dead board. Do you use a PC for recording? Yes, I do. This machine is a separate. It's just for the purpose of streaming and being my workshop machine. My personal administration machine, where I do all my programming and everything else, that's a 27-inch iMac that I just run Linux on. It's a 2013 unit. They're nice machines. They're easy to work on. They got enough room in them. This is really... It's not sitting back in properly. But I will possibly change that to something else in the near future. I don't really care too much what I'm using as a programming administration machine. The CPU demands are not that high. As long as it works is what I care about. And if I'm lucky, it will play Diablo through wine. That's the old Diablo, so my standard's actually going to pick up now because I want to play the new Diablo, the remastered one. And I have a suspicion I'm going to need something a little better than what I've got now. Okay. John. Oh yeah. There's people out there who have who are using it without a proper license. Some of them have notified me about how they did it, and the truth is that yes, I'm not surprised. Software is one of those things where it's kind of like having a lock on your door. It really is just to keep the honest people honest. It's nothing more. Anyone who's sufficiently dedicated will find a way around it. And the way I deal with that is not so much to try and chase them down too much, but rather I just keep adding features to Flexboard View, and people keep kind of wanting to buy, use it, and at some point they're going to get addicted enough, and then they're perhaps going to get stumped by some new lock that I put on there. Again, it's not going to be a major lock, but it'll be some kind of a lock, and it'll frustrate them enough to the point where they'll basically get over their threshold of, well, I guess it's a balance between how much do they really, really need to use it and how much do they not want to pay for it. And so ultimately at some point, hopefully I'll get them as a customer. See, no fan spin at all. Well, that's a good thing actually. If your VCC SO CPU bouncing between one and that's probably because it's trying to get started and then it shuts down. You could have a dead CPU, measure the ohm resistance of the CPU coils and see what you got. It'll be low, it'll be around about anything between 10 and 15, I think, ohms. Alright, so we've got those hinges fixed up. Let's reassemble this thing. And I've got to find out where the hell shoe rubber is. Oh, I know why. Right, finally it came to me. I understand now why I've got shoe rubber. Yeah, it's a 3332 board that I purchased to repair. So we might do that after this, since we've already got a chassis here that we can use. To be fair, I already do have a couple of chassis for this computer. Do you happen to use an Apple Magic Mouse? No. I just use I use one of these mice. What is this, a M150 Logitech, and a mechanical keyboard. Because I'm using Linux, it doesn't need there's no real need for the Mac specific keyboard. Damn it. I'm gonna guess it's that screw. But if you've got no fan spin, then at least you know it's not getting into SO state, or at least it might not be getting into SO state. There's hope it might be okay. Thanks, Greg. Always appreciate promoing of my own gear. Now I know that people are also going to say, well, if I drop the price of Flexboard View, maybe more people would buy it. But quite frankly, I'm not suffering that issue, as in I'm getting enough people buying it on a constant basis, so I have no compulsion to drop that price. And the price, I feel, is helping a lot because it allows me to actually go out and fund other things to be done. Like, for instance, the M1 boards, the 2020 and the 2016 and things like that. It's because I have the funding available that I'm actually able to go out and pay someone to put the time and effort into generating those. Whereas if I didn't have the Flexboard View income, I wouldn't be able to do that. Or at least I'd be somewhat sort of restrained in doing that. Coils and cap on it. Okay, so 15 ohms, yeah, you're good. So you've probably got a short somewhere. So it looks like you're just going to have to go through and find your way to that short. Go through your rails. You know the story. I mean, there may be still some fault with the CPU, but chances are, as soon as say you got a short. Ach, Nipol, come on. What are you, asleep? That's not. No wonder it felt all weird. You're supposed to put this in first. Wow, I was just trying to install this board all backside backwards. That was probably comical for anyone else watching. Yeah, ticking me off. There we go. Don't forget this one down here. Well, that was almost as bad as the 1700. Okay, so what we're doing here is just simply starting it back up, make sure we haven't done any damage while we supposedly fixed it. Sadly, happens all too often. It's like, hey, I'll fix the board, power it up, beep, beep, beep. Like, whoop. Bad day at the office. Alright, Daniel, well, at least, like I said, you've got a pretty reasonable chance there of it being something like a short. Especially with it pulsing like that. If you're lucky, you can probably just spot it with a bit of using your chin or just feeling your way around the board. It's always nice when you pick them out like that. Okay, we're good, we can do the test. Hey, Christian. Oh, that's a bad sign. Oh, there we go. MagSafe wasn't plugged in properly. Lovely to see MagSafe returning, as well as the extra ports on the new machines. Wasn't quite so happy to see that they're still going for, like on the 16-inch boards and things like that, they're still going for the very large chicken wing circuit boards with a lot of parts on them. I was kind of hoping they were moving away from the excessive part situation. Like with the 2012 and the 2016, we have a very nice part count reduction. But I'm guessing by the looks of these new ones that the part counts have just doubled up again. So I'm just booting in to test things like the Valley graphics tester. And the battery. Forgot to plug the battery in. Come on. There we go. Should get a bit more performance boost now. You can plug the battery back in live, so long as you actually can do it without squishing things around. Okay, if you can plug it straight in, like a swish shot with a basketball, no rim touching, then you can do it. A lot of screws again, yeah, they love their screws. Better than glue, at least. I did see the speakers being bonded down like that. I watched most of that video. At least the batteries come out with pull tabs. Hey, it's Chris Long. Hello, Chris Long. Oh, sorry, Christine Long. What are you calling me Pauline for? What a jerk. I greet you with warmth and a hug, and you greet me with insults, insinuations. HDMI MagSafe sold to the board. And that's actually kind of going to be a little bit useful for us, because that means we'll probably end up having port replacements, which isn't a big, hopefully not a big problem. Chris, I call you that because you are very pretty. If you were a dwarf, you'd be so pretty you could pass as a woman. What happens if you're lousy at basketball? In that case, turn the power off before you try and do the shot. Alright, this is doing pretty good. We've got 50 frames per second. That's actually quite nice on a 333 too. Okay, so that's using the NVIDIA. Yeah, Chris, Gimli would probably date you. So 2.7 i7, 16 gigs. So this is pretty much top of the line 333. 70 frames per second. That's quite something. Alright, I'm happy with that. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll ultrasonic that, see if it survives the ultrasonic, and then we'll go through testing again. And if all that's good, finally we'll send it back to the customer. Dennis, I'm actually way behind on that. I personally still find Big Sur too new. To be fair, I think the problem I have with Big Sur is I don't like its graphics. I don't like its theme set. It feels very... it just feels wrong to me. I mean, I'm still building Flexboard View for High Sierra, so yeah, that's how far back I'm sitting at the moment. I've just decided I'm not going to use this chassis for testing the shoe rubber board that I have, but I am going to take this one out and prepare it for the ultrasonic bath. Oh, GD Tech, yeah, I mean, that's why I don't have any qualms charging for it. Because if you're using it for the right reasons, it should be making you money every day. And that's also why I don't give out discounts for it when I get people asking me, like, please, you know, I like the features on Flexboard View, but I can't afford to pay for it. And it's like, well, yeah, we all wanted those features way back when we were using OpenBoard View, but we used OpenBoard View and we still successfully conducted business. So, you can continue to use Open Board View, or if you don't use it, use it. And when you're ready, and you can see the value proposition of Flex Board View, then you can buy Flex Board View at the price that it's listed as. Because as it is, it's already a bit of a bargain, relatively speaking, compared to how much money you can make from the time saved using it. And like I said before, it's kind of a contribution fund as well to ensuring that we have the ability to be able to repair these things by me going out. I'm not just writing software, I'm also out there chasing down, make sure that we can still get access to the board views and working out the file formats, things like that. So it's a lot more than just simply me going ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. Believe me, it's quite a lot more than that. St. Paul Daniels. Ha! According to Lewis, it's Paul Effin Daniels. Take your pick. Fortunately, Lewis is too busy these days with his political stuff that he doesn't get time to come in here and insult me anymore. Let's see, 982. That way I do not lose it. You're probably thinking, how the hell can you lose a MacBook board? So believe me, you really can. At least this way the numbers are on it, so I shouldn't have any dramas. 80. Well, yeah, speaking of which, I gotta get a haircut pretty soon. Right. Okay. Oh, shite. Okay, it's a warranty job. I'm going to be feeling too depressed about that one to touch that one. Okay, where the hell is my... I'm just looking for... Ah, there it is. The shoe rubber one. Shoe. What the hell was it even doing there? Sorry, I'm just arguing with myself right now. Yep, that's the right one. Okay. No kitty today, no. Alright, so this is the pile of failures. I don't know what, that one's there. That might be a donor board. No, 576. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, there's all 332s. This one here is slightly faulty. Yeah, but I wasn't willing to. It was one of those sort of customers where you basically throw money at them to go away. And in the end, yeah, it cost me quite a chunk of change to get them to go away. What was terrifying is that I actually got rid of them originally, and then what happened is they found someone who uses me as their board repair agent, and they went through them, and so the machine ended up here, and I was like, it was just like a horror movie. I was like, no, 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 and yeah, it turned up, and it all went to hell as expected, which is why I denied the job in the first place, Anyway, needs to say that probably cost me about $300-400 to get rid of it. Was not happy about that because the first time I saw it coming, I knew to walk away from it, but then I got caught out just through not checking things well enough with my business clients. So yeah, was not happy. Alright, so we've got 3 deadish 3332s there. A yummy steak, there's nothing wrong with pineapple on pizza. One day you'll learn that. One day you'll secretly start ordering it. But you'll have a pact with your pizzeria, and what you do is you'll make the order and you'll say anchovies, which really is secret code for you to your pizzeria to use pineapple. You know it's going to happen. You know it will. Yeah, Chris, I know. It's just strange that I would expect people to pay for software. Hey, JBV. Oh, you're welcome. Alright, so this here, funnily enough, I bought from eBay. And I know. It's how silly am I? But the reason why I bought this one is that it looked quite clean. It was supplied with the bottom plate with the serial number, so that's great. And then I saw that it had the shoe rubber on it. So I figured, and the price was pretty good. I think it was about under $100 for me. What's the matter, Nelson? Why are you considering yourself scum? Anyway, yeah, so there was enough possibly going to work attributes in this purchase to make me consider it. It's been a long time since I bothered trying to buy anything from eBay when it comes to MacBooks, in the hope that it's actually going to be legit. These days, most of the time, if you ever see a MacBook being sold with "I don't know what's wrong with it," what it really means is I dug around with it, I couldn't solve it, but I removed a bunch of bits, soldered things, replaced the TriStar, there's a joke in there, and now I'm going to pretend that I don't know what's wrong with it, because I'm going to try and hope and bait people who are getting into the industry into thinking that they've got themselves an easy win. Hey Raj. Okay, so here we go. We've got the classic U8900 shoe rubber fix that Apple provide. Well, that's just not going to work for us, Apple. So we'll fix it up the proper way. We'll use a Wagner, set to 600. Hey Jaden, evening. What's the next big meme coin that's going to make us rich? Yeah. Yeah. The PLD coin. It's definitely going to make some of us very rich. I suggest sending several $1,000s worth to PLD. And I'm very certain that there's going to be some real winners. Hey Chris, have you tried a circular polarizer on your microscope yet? I'm running one now. I may need a little more light, but I'm pretty happy with how it is, and it certainly makes the video quality come out good. This is actually a very clean board. I'm quite happy so far, but I haven't flipped it over yet. Ah, nice one, yeah. Stabbed me right in the heart. So you still doing as many phones as you used to, Chris? Are you doing CPU swaps yet? Actually offering it as a service, or have you sort of said, nah, stuff that? Hey, Colonel Panic. Yeah, this is a pretty damn clean board. Very clean board. This is better than what I get. This is probably better than what you get out of factory. So I'm going to say this is a U8900. I'm sort of really hoping it's a U8900. And hopefully I've managed to score myself a very rare win. You haven't done CPU, but you should. Yeah. At least at this point, now that we have got a solution for error 14, where, yeah, that's the bulk of what was really the number of people I worry about who I told to put their phones into a drawer and leave it there for a while in the hope that we would find a way around error 14. I suspect a lot of them have just given away their phones or thrown them in the trash. I don't have the heart to tell them that we now have a solution for it by upgrading to iOS 15. But yeah, given that probably the worst CPU to change was the 6 and the 6S's, I think, yeah, maybe it is something we can work on. Split boards, yeah, of the iPhone, yeah. I don't hear much from Jason if you get to speak to Jason Vilmer, ask him about his lightning strike. The lightning struck the house behind him, I think, and he happened to have his knees against filing cabinets in his workshop, and he's now got burn marks on various parts of his body where the EMP went through him. He's alive, obviously, but I'm kind of scared as to what it might have done to him. Oh yeah, I'm not trying to reflow this, I'm just trying to warm up the board so that it's easy for me to do the chip. Yeah, he might do a video about it, but yeah, it was pretty crazy. I was kind of going to ask him if he had any jaggies through his eye, because that often happens with people who are struck by lightning. The lightning will do crazy things to their eyes. Yeah, if he was wearing an anti-static bracelet, he probably would be dead. I have a feeling though, if it went through one knee and went out the other knee, then it might have... I'm not sure there's going to be any more Jason Vilmers in the world added. So much happier now that I've got that standby facility on the Atom sorted out. That was definitely a showstopper for me before, but now that that's sorted out, I'm happy. As far as I know, yeah, it struck the neighbour's house. I don't know what sort of damage it caused to the neighbour's house, but certainly interesting nonetheless. Amazingly, it didn't seem to take out any of his equipment, as in his electrical equipment. It may have taken out his equipment, though. So I guess we'll see. Not that I really... Actually, no, I don't want to see. No. Keep that to yourself, Jason. Wherever you are. Just realised I don't have any speakers in this assembly. Interesting. I wonder where they went to. Not that it matters. Like I said, I've got several of these lying around. Tony is a cleaner one. It's I've always had two, and I do swap them back and forth. But I also have been cleaning them a bit lately. There we go. If the equipment had proper ground, wouldn't really hurt. Well, it might. Yeah, it depends. If the power still wants to... You kind of want the house to have better grounding than the equipment, really. So the house captures the EMP, converts it to charge and power, and then sends it to the ground. Rather than letting your equipment catch it and it sending it to the ground. La 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 la. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Guess we'll see. We'll see. We'll also see whether I'm completely incompetent as a mains powered device circuit board designer, because I do have one coming in a week or two to replace the controller that I've got for my drying machine. The controller I have there is probably 15 years old now, so it's getting due time for me to replace it. Let's plug the power in. Nothing went kablam, so that's a reasonable start, I think. Something just made a noise, but I think that was just a piece of plastic. Okay, we've got power, we've got fan spin. Yeah, it looks like it boots. Oh, that was the other thing, is on the description on the eBay site, it said that it had problems when coming out of sleep. And that pretty much sold it to me as being a U8900 fault. Because U8900 doesn't seem to manifest so much when it's a high power situation, as in you're running Valley, test, or gaming or whatever. It's when it gets into the low idle states, that's when it sort of becomes unstable. Let's see. The reason why it becomes unstable is because when you're at the low power state, when you've got a switch mode buck converter, it means you've only got a very small duty cycle of applying power, and if you can't regulate down at that level well enough, then your power, your voltage, power supply becomes very erratic, and when it becomes erratic, that causes everything to shut down, because your various sensors on the board with brownout detection, all that sort of thing, will get very get upset by the instability of the power. Whereas when you're going at maximum power situation, then you've got a hell of a lot more pulses in the converter. So if you miss one or two, or there's a bit of issue in there, it doesn't manifest as a severe variation. Yeah, we'll put it in sleep mode and see. First I just want to make sure it does do... Wow, that battery's holding 100%. That's a big fat lie. There's no way. This has been sitting on the shelf for 3 months. There's no way it's actually got a true 100%. It'll just be a floating voltage lie. If I disconnect the power, it will probably very quickly drop down to 40% running this sort of thing, and then shut off. Okay, this is also looks like a high-end one, because we're doing 70-80 frames per second. And it's a 2.4, so it's not as high end as the other one. The other one was a 2.7, and it's only 8 gig, but it's still got some punch in it. My disk is almost full. Tragic, it's a USB stick. What do you expect? Okay, sleep mode. Okay, it did go to sleep. I just saw it turn off. And I'll just wait for the spinning fans to stop. They're still going. Ugh. Come on already. There we go. Okay, fans are all off. Current drain's down at almost nothing. Let's see if it wakes up properly. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. Yep. Sleep. Whenever I do that, I feel like I'm one of the aliens in Dark City. Sleep. They didn't fare so well. Okay, yep, that's pretty much what I would consider a fixed machine now. Let's see if the keyboard's working. I don't know if anyone's really seen the movie Dark City. Dark City, 13th Floor, they sort of came out, unfortunately, around the time of The Matrix, and many people assume they were just copies of The Matrix, but they were actually very different movies in their own right. And both very good movies. Okay, keyboard's good. Camera's not going to come up because I haven't got it connected. Speakers aren't going to come up because I haven't got them connected. No, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that we've actually had a win here for a change. Steve, basically, if you just look up circular polarizer 48mm, it really, there's many of them available. They're all from photographic suppliers. The one I got was a Hoya brand, which is sort of like middle of the road. The Trans-Mississippi, cannot say that properly at this time of the night, is pretty good, but there are betters. Shut down. Well, hopefully this customer will accept an 8GB version. I don't recall what theirs was. And hopefully they won't have me change the serial number. Can't say I'm really in the mood to do that. What is it? 576. 576. Ah, son of a gun. There's a 16 gig. I think they'll be happy enough to run on 8. I hope. Oh yeah, maybe it is actually an 8. I'm not sure. I'd made the assumption 16 because both sides are populated, but often they can populate both sides, but with memory that's only half the density. Do you highly recommend that movie, Doug? I wouldn't say highly recommend, but it's good watching, in my opinion. It's got why do I never remember her name? I just keep thinking of Sarah out of Labyrinth. What is her name? Anyway, she's if you watch the movie Labyrinth with David Bowie, Sarah, whatever her name is. She is in Dark City. Okay, so this is a 2.48. So the board we have is actually a direct replacement for this board. So it was my bad. I was thinking that because this has chips populating both sides, that it was going to be 16 gig, but these are obviously half density chips compared to the 16 gig version. So these, yeah, whatever. Never spent time watching the Jennifer Connolly. Thank you very much, Andrew King. Good job. Never spent time watching the 13th Floor. 13th Floor was, yeah, it was good. And it was another good example of the actor's ability to be completely different in so many ways. The Ashton is his character's name in 13th Floor, is the guy who plays the alien cockroach out of Men in Black. And he is in so many different movies, and he's such a transforming actor. He becomes almost anything he wants to. Very talented. Unfortunately, I never remember his name, but yeah, he's in 13th Floor. The main actor in 13th Floor, I don't remember seeing him around in much, but all in all, yeah, no, it was a good movie. And I'm trying to think, the professor, what's he out of? Anyway, if you like computers, alternate realities, and things like that, 13th Floor, worth watching. And that's pretty much it. I am done for tonight because it is 2 o'clock in the morning. I have to go to Townsville in 7 hours' time. So, yeah, I think it's a good wrap up. We've done pretty good tonight. We basically just had 2 U8900 boards. That first one, though, if we had not checked the regulator, that could have ended up causing bigger dramas. I'm pretty sure that's a fairly important chip. We'll just go to the board view and schematic. So 3332, and it was this one here, U7400. And yeah, that's why it was a concern, because that is CPU V-core generator. And so if that little bit of corrosion had grown a little bit more, let's see, that was between IVMP and ground, or IVMP and U-gate. Okay, this here, if these two merge, the upper and lower gate drive, then you're going to end up with a lot of problems. I've seen Lucy. I know of Lucy, I've just never watched it, no. So, alright, I'm out of here. You all take care, and I will take care on the road tomorrow, of course. I'm really not a big fan of driving. I can't wait to actually have self-driving cars that can self-drive, because being a human, I do get a little bit tired on the road, and that concerns me. So, and yeah, so I'll also hopefully get the video up of the new drying oven, of how I completely butchered it to make it do what it does today. So I'm out of here. You all take care. I'll see you next time.